casting long shadows over the crowded streets. Among the throngs of people, two friends, Karzak and Aruk, met by chance. Their meeting was a rare moment of serendipity in the vast, ancient city. Their faces, usually bright with laughter and camaraderie, were now etched with deep lines of worry and concern. Times were hard, and their purses were lighter than ever. The weight of their financial burdens was almost palpable. Karzak, a strong man with calloused hands, was a skilled chariot builder. His craftsmanship was renowned, yet it seemed to bring him little prosperity. Aruk, with nimble fingers and a quick wit, was a musician, known for his lively tunes that could lift the spirits of even the weariest traveler. Both men worked tirelessly, pouring their hearts and souls into their respective crafts, yet their efforts seemed to disappear like water in the desert sand, leaving them with little to show for their hard work. "My friend," sighed Karzak, "I toil day and night, yet I barely have enough to feed my family." The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. "How can we escape this life of endless struggle?" His voice was filled with a mix of desperation and hope, seeking answers in the eyes of his friend. Aruk, strumming his lute absent-mindedly, shook his head. The melody he played was soft and melancholic, reflecting the mood of their conversation. "I too feel the pinch, my friend." His voice was tinged with sadness, a shared burden that weighed heavily on both their hearts. "My music brings joy to many, but little gold to my own purse." Despite the joy and solace his music provided to others, it did little to alleviate his own financial woes. As they walked through the bustling marketplace, the sights and sounds of Babylon surrounded them. Vendors shouted their wares, children laughed and played, and the aroma of exotic spices filled the air. They paused to listen to a street performer, whose energetic dance and vibrant music momentarily lifted their spirits. Yet the reality of their situation quickly returned. Finding a quiet spot by a fountain, they sat down to rest. The cool water provided a brief respite from the heat, but their minds were still troubled. Deep in thought, they pondered their next steps. The road ahead seemed uncertain, but they knew they had to find a way to improve their fortunes. With a renewed sense of determination, they shook hands, vowing to support each other through thick and thin. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. Karzak was known throughout Babylon for his craftsmanship. His name echoed in the bustling markets and grand palaces alike, a testament to his unparalleled skill and dedication. His chariots were strong, swift, and beautifully adorned. Each chariot was a masterpiece, a blend of strength and elegance, designed to withstand the rigors of battle and the scrutiny of the elite. Wealthy merchants and noblemen alike sought his skills. They traveled from distant lands, eager to commission a chariot that bore the mark of Karzak's genius. His reputation was such that even the king himself had one of Karzak's chariots in his royal stables. Yet, despite his reputation, Karzak remained a man of modest means. His workshop was humble, a stark contrast to the opulence of his creations. He lived a simple life, his days consumed by the pursuit of perfection in his craft. He worked tirelessly in his workshop, the clang of hammer on metal a constant rhythm in his life. The sound was both a comfort and a reminder of the endless toil required to achieve excellence. Each strike of the hammer was a step closer to creating something extraordinary. He never shied away from an honest day's labor, but the gold he earned seemed to slip through his fingers like grains of sand. Despite his hard work, wealth eluded him. The coins he earned were quickly spent on materials, tools, and the basic necessities of life. His debts lingered, casting a shadow over his days. "It is a cruel jest," he often muttered to himself, "that a man who builds chariots for the wealthy cannot afford a single donkey for his own use." The irony of his situation was not lost on him, and it weighed heavily on his heart. His heart yearned for a day when he would be free from financial worries, a day when he could provide comfortably for his family. He dreamed of a future where his children would not have to struggle as he did, where they could enjoy the fruits of his labor, a day when he could provide comfortably for his family. His love for them was the driving force behind his relentless work ethic. Every chariot he built was a step towards that dream, a hope that one day his family would live in comfort and security. Karzak also took pride in passing down his skills to the next generation. He believed that knowledge was a treasure, and he was determined to share it. His apprentices admired him, not just for his skill, but for his generosity and patience. Occasionally, A satisfied customer would offer him a token of appreciation, a small gesture that meant the world to him. These moments of gratitude were rare, but they fueled his spirit and reminded him of the impact of his work. As the sun set each day, Karzak would look out at the horizon, his heart filled with hope. He knew that his journey was far from over, but he held on to the belief that one day, his hard work would be rewarded, and his dreams would become reality. Aruk, with his melodic voice and cheerful melodies, brought joy to the hearts of many. His music was a beacon of light in the often harsh and unforgiving world of ancient Babylon. Each note he played seemed to weave a spell, enchanting those who paused to listen. He wandered the bustling marketplaces and grand palaces of Babylon, his lute singing tales of love, loss, and laughter. The stories he told through his music of the people he met along his journey. Each song was a tapestry of human experience, rich with emotion and history. People stopped to listen, their faces brightening at his music. Children would dance, elders would nod in appreciation, and for a few moments, the worries of daily life would melt away. Aruk's music had the power to unite people, to create a shared moment of joy and connection. Yet, Aruk's life was as unpredictable as the desert wind. The path of a wandering musician was fraught with uncertainty. He never knew where his next meal would come from, or where he would lay his head at night. The road was both his home and his greatest challenge. Some days, his music earned him a shower of coins. On those days, he felt like a king, his heart swelling with gratitude for the generosity of strangers. The clinking of coins in his pouch was a sweet symphony, a reward for his hard work and talent. On other days, his purse remained as empty as a forgotten tomb. Those were the days when doubt crept in, when he questioned his path and his purpose. The silence of an empty pouch was a stark reminder of the precariousness of his existence. He lived a nomadic life, traveling from city to city, always in search of his next performance, his next meal. Each new place brought new faces, new stories, and new challenges. The life of a wandering musician was one of constant movement, of never settling down. "My music may bring smiles," he mused, "but smiles cannot fill an empty stomach." Despite the joy he brought to others, Aruk often found himself longing for something more. He dreamed of a life where he could play his music without the constant worry of survival. He longed for the stability that seemed to elude him, for a life where he could plan for the future instead of merely surviving the present. The sight of families sharing meals, of people with a place to call home, filled him with a deep yearning. Yet, despite the hardships, Aruk's spirit remained unbroken. His music was his gift to the world, and as long as there were ears to hear and hearts to be touched, he would continue to play. One day, Karzak encountered an old friend, a moneylender named Namar. Namar was known for his wealth and wisdom, a man who had risen from humble beginnings to become one of the wealthiest men in Babylon. Seeing Karzak's downtrodden face, Namar inquired about his troubles. Karzak poured out his heart, lamenting his inability to break free from the cycle of debt and hardship. Namar listened patiently, his eyes twinkling with understanding. When Karzak was finished, Namar offered him a piece of advice that would change his life. "My friend," Namar said, his voice calm and reassuring, "the secret to wealth is not working harder, but working smarter. It lies in keeping a portion of all you earn for yourself, for your future." Section 5, a tenth to keep. Karzak frowned, skeptical. "But Namar," he protested, "I barely earn enough to cover my expenses. How can I possibly set aside a portion of my earnings?" Namar smiled gently. "That is the trap, my friend, that keeps many men poor. You must pay yourself first. Save a tenth of all you earn before you pay any other debt or expense. This will be your seed of prosperity." Karzak remained unconvinced. "But what good is a handful of copper when I have debts to pay and mouths to feed?" he argued. "Be patient, my friend," Namar urged. "Just as a small seed grows into a mighty tree, so too will your savings multiply over time. The key is to start small and be consistent." Initially, Karzak struggled to follow Namar's advice. Every copper coin he set aside felt like a sacrifice, but he persevered, driven by a flicker of hope that Namar's words held the key to a brighter future. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, Karzak's savings began to grow. As his savings accumulated, he noticed a shift in his mindset. He felt a newfound sense of control over his finances, a sense of pride in his growing wealth. His debts, once a looming burden, began to shrink as he diligently chipped away at them. He started to see opportunities where he had once seen only limitations. The seed of prosperity that Namar had spoken of was taking root. Word of Karzak's newfound financial stability eventually reached Aruk. Intrigued, he sought out his old friend, eager to learn the secret to Karzak's transformation. Karzak, beaming with pride, shared Namar's wisdom with Aruk, emphasizing the importance of saving a tenth of one's earnings. Aruk, accustomed to the fluctuating nature of his income, was initially hesitant. But Karzak, he questioned, my earnings are never certain. How can I possibly save a tenth when I know not what the next day will bring? My friend, Karzak replied, it is precisely because your income is uncertain that saving is crucial. By setting aside a portion of your earnings, you create a cushion for yourself, a reserve for lean times. Inspired by Karzak's success, Aruk resolved to apply Namar's advice to his own life. He began to track his earnings and diligently set aside a tenth of every coin he received. At first, it felt like a monumental task, especially when his earnings were meager. However, as the weeks turned into months, Aruk noticed a change in his own financial situation. He was no longer living hand-to-mouth, constantly worried about his next meal. The small but consistent act of saving had created a sense of stability he had never known before. He realized that financial stability was not a matter of luck or fate, but a matter of choice and discipline. The path to plenty, once shrouded in uncertainty, now lay clear before him.